So, do you want to take this time to explain why you think he's the middleweight GOAT, or is that a conversation for another day?
Um, I think Israel. So this is my take on the situation. I know a lot of people like Anderson Silva because he's 16. Was it 16 wins in the middleweight division? Most wins in title fights with 11. Most knockouts in middleweight. People consider him the GOAT, like across all divisions. I think it's now you can argue that Adesanya is in that conversation. To me, I think you can. And this is what I'm saying. When Anderson was the king, yes, he could only fight what competition was available for him. But the guys that were kind of bums, let me not say bums, but the guys that were lesser competition that really shouldn't have been there with him, Anderson didn't put them away. He didn't put them all away. Now, yes, you can make that argument for Israel, but the guys that Israel didn't put away, these were the top guys of the division. Anderson, he should have put away Tyler Celente. He should have put away Patrick Cato. He should have finished Damian Maya. Damian Maya at that point too. We're not talking about Damian Maya before he fought Tyron Woodley. We're talking about Damian Maya short notice fight for that Abu Dhabi Cup. And or was it in Abu Dhabi or was it in the United Emirates or whatever?
I think it was in Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken.
Anyway,
I think that's the same place.
UFC 112 listeners and viewers, check that out and you can see the location. I only remember the name of the event. I don't remember the exact location of it. I just know it was somewhere in the Middle East. I think that when Anderson lost the title, he didn't get it back and went on a losing streak. You saw Israel lost the title, came back and knocked the dude out clean, cold. So I feel like the argument should be made now. It should be made. I don't think that it's too far. If somebody's telling me, I think Israel Adesanya might be the middleweight GOAT, I'm going to be like, yeah, man, I don't think you have a bad argument. If somebody wants to say Anderson is still a middleweight GOAT, I'm not going to say they have a bad argument, but I feel like the debate is there. He did something that Anderson couldn't do. That's how I see it. I feel like, to reference another debated topic between two fighters, when GSP and Usman was the big debate, unfortunately, Usman not only got knocked out, he lost the rematch. So right there, you can't give right there, Usman will always be second to GSP. Unless Usman bounces back and he goes on another tear and 7-fight win streak, gets his title back and knocking out contenders, but realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. So not because Usman's not good enough, but because I think that he's just getting older in age. So I don't think he'll have the time to do all that again. So, but with Adesanya and Adesanya already beat Anderson too, by the way. So
later in his career, come on now. That's like way past his prime. Come on. In his prime, way past his prime. Like,
all right, if it was prime Anderson versus prime Adesanya, who are you taking?
All right, so here's what I have to say about it. Right, I did a little.
You didn't answer my question.
If I saw the fight live, I take Anderson.
Okay.
Over Israel.
Yeah, I know, because you're not the biggest fan of the style
either. I've never been the biggest fan of either. So I really have no stake in this place. But to answer your question, I take Anderson. And I don't necessarily think that, while I think that this fight makes it to where now there is a debate because he did do something that Anderson Silva wasn't able to do during his career. I think that's like really the only thing you can say in the debate against Anderson Silva, because I think, yes, he didn't necessarily finish the people he should have finished, but he finished damn near everybody else. You know, the people who were in the top 10 during his tenure, I would say the people like Chael Sonnen and Vitor Belfort, Yushin Okami, Nate Marquardt, because he was in the top 10 around the time as well. He finished all those people. And not only that, not only did he finish more people, he finished more people for a long period of time, a longer period of time. And, you know, he didn't necessarily move up to light heavyweight and fight for the title, but he did go up there twice and knock both of those people out as well.
I look at it as Anderson's record is a little spotty versus Israel Adesanya's record. As far as like, you know, UFC caliber fights. Anything that happened for Anderson and Pride or random Brazil promotions doesn't count.
I disagree.
Far as you, why does that? So you're gonna count that?
No, but I'm not talking about obviously those, you know, promotions before he got to the UFC. We're not talking about those, but the only three people I looked it up. The only three people that he fought that weren't in the top 10 around that period of time when he fought them were Talis Lades,
Okay.
James Irving,
Okay.
Patrick Cote.
Okay.
Other than
there wasn't any UFC rankings back then as well when Anderson was on top.
There were. You can find them. I looked them up.
There was UFC rankings.
Yeah.
Like the UFC put out rankings.
Around that time of like 2010, they became more popular.
So the UFC themselves.
Not the UFC, no. We're not talking about UFC rankings. They didn't do their rankings until like 2015 or so.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm talking about. Back then, there was no really justifiable way to say somebody was number one contender or not, unless they were on a win streak knocking people out. That's how they determine their next contenders. Now, even though the ranking system isn't entirely just, and we can have a conversation about that all day, but now, you know, you could kind of have an idea on who should be fighting who. Back then, it was really just like, okay, the who had a good win streak and who had the most, you know, who in those win streaks were getting finishes. Remember a fighter in the middleweight division named was it Jorge Rivera?
Remember him.
Now remember that he had himself like a little win streak. Not against any big names, but that doesn't matter for right now. He got a big fight with Michael Bisping. Remember that?
I do.
And you remember what Bisping did to him?
I remember that.
Yeah. Jorge Rivera wouldn't get a fight with a guy caliber of Michael Bisping today due to the rankings. So I'm not trying to say like Anderson's resume is bad or something to crap on or to even say no. I think if you want to say Anderson is the GOAT middleweight, that's fine. I have no problem with it. To me, it's kind of like the LeBron James Michael Jordan debate now. Now it's kind of like both sides are just arguing their points, but both of their points are not bad points. That's how I see it. I'm not saying that Israel's the clear-cut guy, but he's getting there to be clear-cut. If he beats the next middleweight guy, goes up a light heavyweight, and goes up and does his thing up there, the debate is going to be over. But right now, obviously, that shoulda, coulda, woulda. But right now, I think there is a debate between the two. That's all. That's what I believe. If I'm wrong, listeners or viewers, or if you disagree, just let me know. Be like, yeah, I disagree, and this is why, or I see what you're saying, but you know, you're not taking account for this. Blah blah blah.
Let us know in the comments, listeners.